Unpopular opinion, but I literally think that women should be paid to exist. I know y'all are probably gonna be like, what? But no, follow me on this. Follow me on this. So, one, like, our bodies literally create life, y'all. Like, that within itself, like, it beats any freaking invention that a man can come up with. Like, any tech company, like, no tech company can come up with a baby in my belly. So one, that's why we should get paid. And then even women who like have already had children, they should still get paid, because guess what? Like, the life of a mother, like, that's a whole job within itself. I literally think that we should receive monthly incomes for being women. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm being so serious.
Ever thought about being paid just for existing? Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? Today, we're diving into a rather controversial claim made by a woman who believes that because women bear children, they should be paid simply to exist. This notion, while initially eyebrow-raising, may seem appealing to some at first glance. After all, childbirth is a significant undertaking, both physically and emotionally. Is it so absurd to think that there should be some form of compensation for that? And then there's the idea that by bringing new life into the world, women are contributing to the future of society. Some could argue that this is a job in itself, deserving of a paycheck. But hold on to your hats, folks. It's not all as straightforward as it seems. There's a whole other side to this argument that we need to explore. But before we pass judgment, let's delve deeper into this argument and its counter-arguments. Conception is a two-way street, isn't it? Now let's dive a little deeper into the biological process of conception. In the simplest of terms, conception is the process where a sperm fertilizes an egg to form an embryo, which eventually develops into a baby. This process requires two key players, a man and a woman. The woman provides the egg, and the man provides the sperm. Without either one, conception simply would not occur. It's like trying to bake a cake without flour or eggs. You just can't do it. When we consider this, the claim that women should be paid for existing because they carry the baby seems somewhat lopsided. Yes, it's true that women carry the baby for around 9 months. They go through the pains of pregnancy, the hormonal changes, and eventually the labor of childbirth. This is a significant contribution, no doubt. But let's not forget the other half of the equation. Men also contribute to the creation of life. They provide the sperm that is essential for fertilization. Without the sperm, there would be no baby. It's as simple as that. And while men might not physically carry the baby, they play a crucial role in the process. They're just as much a part of the conception equation as women are. In fact, men continue to contribute after the baby is conceived. They provide emotional support to their partners during pregnancy. They share in the anticipation and excitement of the upcoming birth. They also share in the responsibility of caring for the baby once it is born. Now let's circle back to the claim that women should be paid for existing because they carry the baby. Given that conception requires both a man and a woman, this claim seems to overlook the significant contribution of men. It's not just the women who are part of this process, men are too. So, if we're talking about payment for biological contributions, shouldn't men also be in line for a paycheck? Raising a child isn't a walk in the park, and it certainly isn't cheap. This statement rings true for many parents around the globe. When we discuss the financial responsibilities that come with raising a child, it's crucial to understand that these expenses often fall on the shoulders of men, debunking the notion that women should be paid simply for their existence. Let's consider the costs. From the moment a child is born, there are immediate expenses such as hospital bills, baby gear, clothing, and diapers. As the child grows, these costs evolve into school fees, extracurricular activities, medical expenses, and eventually, college tuition. It's not just about the monetary value, but also the time, effort, and often, the sacrifice of personal ambitions that parents, especially fathers, invest in their children. Moreover, many men take on the role of the primary breadwinner in the family, working long hours and sometimes even multiple jobs to provide for their children. This financial provision extends beyond the basic needs, ensuring their children have access to opportunities that can enrich their lives and secure their futures. On a broader societal level, men contribute significantly to the economy, which in turn supports public services like education and healthcare. This contribution is often overlooked when discussing the financial aspects of child rearing. Now let's think about this for a moment. If the argument is that women should be paid for existing because they carry babies, then shouldn't the same logic apply to men? After all, they are providing not just the seed for conception, but also the majority of financial resources for the child's upbringing. The notion of being paid merely for one's existence seems to overlook the intricate balance of responsibilities and contributions that both parents bring to the table. It's a dance of give and take, a partnership, where each party plays a vital role, and neither can be discounted. So, if women should be paid for existing, shouldn't men be paid for providing? This question is not to create a gender divide but rather to highlight the shared responsibility and mutual respect that should underscore every discussion about parenting and financial responsibility. The plot thickens when we bring paternity fraud into the picture. It's a term that sounds like something out of a crime novel, yet it's a reality for many men. Paternity fraud happens when a woman falsely identifies a man as the biological father of her child, often for financial gain. This isn't just a plot twist in a soap opera, folks, it's a real-life issue that affects countless men. Let's delve into some examples. There are men out there who, for years, have provided financial support, love, and care to children they believed were their own, only to discover they were not the biological fathers. This revelation doesn't just bring emotional devastation, but it also highlights the financial implications. These men have been paying for a child or even children who are not biologically theirs. It's not just about the cost of diapers, clothes, and school fees. It's also about the time and emotional investment. The countless sleepless nights, the worry, the love, the care, the dreams and hopes invested, all based on a lie. This goes beyond the simple dichotomy of male and female contributions to bringing a child into the world. This isn't about who did what or who deserves to be paid for existing. This is about honesty, integrity, and responsibility. In these instances of paternity fraud, it's not the man who owes the woman. On the contrary, it's the woman who owes the man. She owes him for the years of financial support, for the emotional investment, and for the love given to a child he believed was his. So, when we consider claims that women should be paid for existing because they carry the baby, we must also consider cases of paternity fraud. These instances show that men are not just contributors to conception, but are often the ones bearing the financial and emotional burden of women's choices. In such cases, who really owes who? The dynamics of relationships can be complex and often unfair. Let's delve deeper into this by exploring a scenario that's unfortunately not uncommon in our society. Picture a woman who decides to have a child with a man, let's call him Chad. Now Chad is typically characterized as the alpha male, the guy who's charming, good-looking, and often the one who doesn't stick around for long. Now the woman, after having a child with Chad, turns to another man for resources. This other man, who we'll refer to as the beta male, is usually seen as the reliable one, the provider, the one who is expected to step in and take up the financial and emotional responsibility for another man's child. This scenario exposes a deep flaw in the woman's claim that she should be paid for existing merely because she carries the baby. It completely overlooks the sacrifices and contributions of the beta male who steps in to provide for a child that isn't biologically his. The woman's demand for compensation for existence seems to disregard the fact that the beta male, who didn't contribute to the conception of the child, is now paying, both financially and emotionally, for a child that isn't his. Moreover, this scenario also brings into question the responsibility of the Chad. Why is it that the Chad, who was equally involved in the conception of the child, gets to walk away without any accountability? Isn't it the Chad who should be contributing to the upbringing of the child? In essence, the woman's claim is not only delusional, but also overlooks the sacrifices and contributions of many men. It fails to acknowledge the complexity of relationships and the unfair burden it places on certain individuals. It's a reminder that while women do indeed play a vital role in bringing life into the world, men too have their roles and responsibilities, roles that are often overlooked and undervalued. In these situations, isn't it the Chad who owes, not the beta? So, should women be paid just for existing? We've taken a deep dive into this provocative claim, dissecting the biological contributions, financial responsibilities, and even the unfortunate reality of paternity fraud. We've seen that conception is a shared journey with men playing an equally vital role. We've also explored the financial obligations that often land heavily on a man's shoulders, even in situations where the child might not be biologically his. From this perspective, the idea of paying women for merely existing seems a touch outlandish. In the Chad and beta male scenario, we saw that it's not always the biological father who ends up providing resources. This again underlines the complexities of relationships and the sacrifices made by men. But here's the crux. We're all in this together, men and women, each playing our part, making our sacrifices. Ultimately, life isn't about who owes who, but about understanding and appreciating each other's contributions and sacrifices.